show his scars, and say these wounds. Old men forget, yet all shall be forgotten. For he today who sheds his blood with me shall be my brother. Got a question for you. Who's got it better than us? Nobody! Each other has...
Welcome to the Big House of CFB Nation. How are you? I'm Andy, and we're back again with another episode, so let's get right into it. All right, we got some more news with the coaching staff breakdown. So Jay Harbaugh, he ends up leaving Michigan. He goes to the Seattle Seahawks, becomes their special teams coach. As expected, Jesse Minter does become the Chargers defensive coordinator. Mike Elstein, who is the defensive line coach, he leaves to become part of the Chargers staff. So all of this is to be expected. The one guy that we couldn't lose was Ben Herbert, the strength and conditioning director at Michigan. He ends up leaving. That's going to be the biggest key that we need to replace for everything to stay status quo. So he's going to be the biggest loss for the program. So, and it also looks like more guys could be coming aboard in the upcoming weeks with the Chargers. So what's going to happen with Michigan? We have a new staff that's slowly taking into place. So let's kind of break that down a little bit to kind of get you a feel of what's going on with Michigan. So Sharon Moore, he chooses the offensive coordinator to be quarterbacks coach, Kirk Campbell. So he gets promoted over Mike Hart. That does have a trickle down that we'll get into a little bit later. But who is Kirk Campbell? He's 37 years old. He was the quarterback coach with Michigan. He formerly was the Old Dominion offensive coordinator. Now, in his first year calling plays at Old Dominion, they improved by 100 yards on offense per game, and they scored 12 more points per game. So he is someone that does have a bright mind, who knows what to do, knows what plays to call, and he was the guy that helped develop J.J. McCarthy of who he is today. He's going to be a first-round pick, and that's all because of this guy right here. Now, he's going to lead the offense. So what can we expect? What did we see this past season? With Roman Wilson, the first 3 years, there was a lot of inconsistencies going on. This past season, what we saw was Roman Wilson got moved around. He was that chess piece. Find the mismatch, move him around, get him the ball. Roman Wilson has shined out because of that. So that's all because of Kirk Campbell. So what should we expect this season coming up now? In his little presser, he did say that he wants to bring out the skill set. He wants to take advantage of what they have currently. The big factor is going to be the quarterback play. We talked about last time with Alex Orji, Jane Davis. That is still the question mark. How will this offense look? Will it be heavily dependent on how Alex Orji does this spring and into fall? Now, with his background with the quarterbacks, we should expect some improvement from these guys, but how big of a jump? That's going to be the key on how this team will run next year. Donovan Edwards was mentioned as that chess piece with the goal of utilizing his skill set, setting him out wide, not only just being a typical running back, but lining him up in slot, moving him out wide, motioning him out pre-snap, get him in open space and get him the ball. Wolverine fans, that's what we've been waiting for the past couple of years. We can finally see Donovan Edwards take shape of the player he should always have been. I've always said he has the best hands on the Michigan Wolverines roster. Let's hope that he gets utilized better this year. Now, he also mentioned Colson Loveland. He was mentioned as being a focal point in the offense. He was a converted wide receiver. I would love for them to have more plays where he's detached from the line. He's lined up out wide against a safety. That's an automatic mismatch. That's a win for Michigan every single time. Now let's talk about some more coaching changes. Grant Newsome, he moves from the tight end coach to the offensive line coach. That's a good promotion right there. Another one is J.B. Brown. He was an analyst for Michigan with a background as a special teams coach. He now takes over to become the new special teams guy. I don't expect much change there, but this is the guy that we need to watch here. Justin Tress. He is now the new director of strength and conditioning. We have to see how he takes over that program. He did learn from Ben Herbert, so hopefully everything stays the same. Everything is still status quo. We haven't seen anyone transfer out, so we shouldn't have much concerns. But here is one big concern. Coach Mike Hart. He took a leave of absence. He is not on the recruiting trail. There is some indications from within that he wasn't happy that he got bypassed as the offensive coordinator. There's also been rumblings that Jim Harbaugh might snatch him to go to the Chargers. So that is something that we need to watch out, Wolverines fans. Coach Mike Hart, he's been that heartbeat of that team. And if he leaves, that's going to be some issues right there with that running back room. So we need to watch out for that. Now, there's still some issues to be resolved, mainly on the defensive side with the defensive coordinator. It has been mentioned that a lot of Wolverine fans are upset that they're taking their time. A lot of Wolverine fans, they want a quick hire. They want a new hire. I get that. But we need to take a deep breath. Everything's going to be fine. We need to hire the right guy, not just a guy quickly. Now, in the last episode, I mentioned about Zach Orr and how he could be the guy that could, become a defensive coordinator. Well, the Baltimore Ravens promoted him. So there has been some indications that Coach Moore is looking into the Ravens staff to kind of keep that defense the same. Two guys. So the first guy is outside linebackers coach Chuck Smith. He's been with the Ravens since 2023. He's worked with Aaron Donald, Carlos Dunlap, Albert Hainsworth, Robert Mathis. He was the pass rush specialist for the 2009 Jets. That Jets defense was a unit. So he's one guy that I'm kind of looking at. And the other guy is the pass game coordinator and the secondaries coach for the Ravens, Chris Hewitt. He's got 12 years of experience. He joined the Ravens in 2012, and he's been with that secondary since 2015. If they can get him, that would be a big hire. So we need to watch out for the defensive coordinator who comes aboard. Now let's wrap up the Senior Bowl here. We saw Roman Wilson ball out. We said that was expected. He was the guy. We all knew about him, Michigan Wolverines fans. We all knew he ran the 4.37, the 40, a very good route runner, very good footwork. All those 2 days where he was on the field, he was having corners on skates. He did so well that he left after day 3. I've always said he's a second-round pick. He is an NFL talent. He's got all the traits, and just wait for the NFL Combine and then the Pro Day. Roman Wilson will be a second-round pick. Now, we have come to the profile segment. Now, each week I'm going to be profiling some freshmen, some returning guys, next guys up, and then some old school throwback player. Now, the freshman player profile of the day is wide receiver Amarion Stewart. He's 5'10", 180 pounds, a 4-star in the composites, rated as high as wide receiver 26 and as low as wide receiver 77. He averages out to be wide receiver 53 in the composites. Now, what does he do well? He's a very good athlete, an above-average route runner. He tracks the ball very well, especially for being only 5'10". You wouldn't expect that. He has very good vision, and he also creates after the catch. He's a slippery runner, so I do expect him to have some short area targets, some manufactured touches. He's very elusive, good lateral agility, and he's got a good change of direction. I really like this guy. Now, I know in the past with Michigan, we aren't too high on these receivers coming in because let's just face it, the majority of times they don't get the opportunities and or they don't develop into anything. So we do have to take that with a grain of salt. But with a new offensive coordinator, new coach involved, we might see a shift from more quick style passing offenses. And this guy fits that mold because Michigan, they need to fill that wide receiving room. There's really nothing left that returns there. So he's a guy that, as a true freshman, he has a pathway for playing time. Now, Michigan, they need to get better play overall and from the wide receivers, and he could very well be that next wave coming in to make an impact. Stewart lined up out wide in high school, so he's got a shot to win one of the outside boundaries. So I don't think he really affects any of the interior positions. Now, the next man up profile of the day is wide receiver Tyler Morris. He's 5'11", 185 pounds, a 4-star in the composites. He was rated as high as a wide receiver 18 and as low as wide receiver 45. He averaged out to be wide receiver 26. In 2 seasons so far, he's appeared in 23 games. He's got 4 starts this past season alone. He scored his first touchdown in the Rose Bowl, where he got 2 passes for 45 yards. He also started in the national championship game. Now, he's gained that trust in that staff, and he's starting to understand that system. I would not be surprised if he becomes a breakout player next year. He has every chance to be one of the key players on this offense next year. He's a very good, twitchy athlete. He's been a returner. He's the next man up in this program, someone we should definitely get excited for. Now, our returning player profile of the day is definitely a guy that we need to get excited for. It is cornerback Will Johnson, 6'2", 202 pounds. He's going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL next year. He wears the same jersey as Charles Woodson. He paid homage to Charles Woodson in the Rose Bowl. He locked down Marvin Harrison Jr. in that Ohio State game. He is the eraser for us. He's the best corner since Charles Woodson. Wolverine fans, enjoy watching him next year because he's going to hone his craft even more so than what he already is, and he'll be a top 5 pick, and he'll play on Sundays. Now, the under-the-radar player profile of the day for us is right guard Josh Preby. He's 6'5", 310 pounds. He transfers in from Northwestern. He brings toughness and experience. He was a team captain last year. He's appeared in 36 games, and he has every right to be a starter next year. We've seen this trend of Michigan bringing in these grad transfers on the offensive line, and they just mold them into their own guy, and they get drafted into the NFL. He's that next guy there. Now, our throwback player of the day, running back Tishmanga Tim Biaka-Batuka. He was a Wolverine from 1993 to 1995. As a true freshman, he was the backup to Tyrone Wheatley. He ran for 187 yards on 38 carries. As a sophomore, he was still the backup, but he ran for 713 yards on 117 carries. As a junior in 1995, that's when he broke out. He ran for 1,724 yards with 12 touchdowns. His signature game is one of my favorite all-time performances against unbeaten Ohio State. Biaka-Batuka ran for 313 yards and helped Michigan win that game. The very next year, Tim Biaka-Batuka would declare for the NFL draft and be selected 8th overall by the Carolina Panthers. He would spend 6 years in the NFL, all with the Panthers, ran for 2,530 yards with 14 touchdowns. Now, his life after football, he currently lives in North Carolina, and he owns 8 Bojangles restaurants in Georgia. Biaka-Batuka will always be a legend for his performance against Ohio State. Now, I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Welcome to the Big House. I want to give a special thank you to Dwight Peoples for the intro. I want to give a special thank you to Nino Brown for producing. And I want to give thank you to the CFB Nation. Now, you can follow me at Andy_Pham1. Until next week, who's got it better than the CFB Nation?
Got a question for you. Who's got it better than us? No way!